I'm super pumped to do this segment. I always like seeing Jody Jackson across from me in a Zoom or in person because she gets after it. I like to think I get after it a little bit, not nearly as much as she does. So we got to talking about the creative side of things, and then E.D. Marshall Jewelers came up, and they've been with Jody through the years. And I said, well, what if we had Jody Jackson's gems? And you said what?
I said, of course, let's do it. I said, love you, Brad, love E.D. Marshall, and appreciate their support. This is a great connection. Now, you and I have done this a lot over the years, but not on a regular basis, not part of your shows. I love what you're doing with all of your shows. And you and I, through the years, we believe in telling stories. We believe in, when you say get after it, I take that to mean me doing my running around, covering all the teams. You do the same. So we believe in keeping that going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, so here's how it'll go. It's how it's always been whenever Jody comes on with me. And just for any guest, I never really tell them what I'm going to ask them because I already know they know their bleep. So we don't need to go down that path. But it's like the other day, I'm talking to Jody about this and just how things are going. And she's in a cab in Tampa.
I was in Miami.
You're in Miami. You're in Miami. Your hometown. And you made a big gaffe. And this is what it's like. She's got to get into the clubhouse. She's got to do her job. And you take the story from there.
Yeah, well, there's by the Lone Depot Park in Miami. So, and just a little history note, when I was growing up, it was the Orange Bowl was in that place, in that site. I lived in Broward County. My mom and I would go down and go to the games. So this is always like, it's funny when I go over the Miami River, it's always like a memory for me. But nowadays, not only is the Orange Bowl not there, and now it's beautiful Lone Depot Park. It's a big, monstrous, gorgeous ballpark. But around it, in the neighborhood, there's a school there now where school gets out right about the time I'm getting out of my Uber, right? Now, if I take the team bus, I'm in good shape. But team bus, they go down like a separate street. I didn't map that all out for my driver. So basically, I look at the thing, I'm on the phone with you. I said, it says 0.4. I look down at my shoes. I'm like, I'm not wearing the best shoes, but it's fine. I'll hustle in there. I tell the guy, we're sitting there in this traffic with the school, pickup for a good like 10 or 12 minutes. And I'm just getting out. I have to get out. I have to run in there. And so I did that.
And I hear the driver like, are you sure? Like he wants to make sure.
I'm thinking, I know you don't want to sit here for another 10 minutes. Like, I don't want to sit here for another 10 minutes. I'm looking at him thinking, he's probably like, I could be off on another job making money right now. So
yeah, no, that's part of what this will be, is just like the adventures through the years. Jody Jackson's Gems, E.D. Marshall Jewelers. It is week number 1. We plan on doing this, I don't know, as long as we have fun doing it, right? I mean, we'll
absolutely
just keep banging it out. All right, let's get into the baseball side of things. So did you see Dana White sitting there next to the dugout in Torrey yesterday? Did you talk to Dana White? I've had all these people say, you have to ask Jody about Dana White because they think that's the coolest thing ever. Forget about the fact the baseball team is playing out of their minds. So Dana White.
No, I didn't realize it at first because first of all, the first 2 games of the series, Derek Hall was in that seat. Derek was sitting there and, Colin Maxey was there, Tom Harris, their wives were there. And, that's a great spot for the visiting, team's front office, president and whole group. So then it wasn't until the 2nd inning or so, I think my husband texted me and said, that's Dana White next to Torrey. And I hadn't seen the shot yet of the 2 of them chatting. I think that happened a little bit later. And I kind of just assumed, it was someone with the Diamondbacks organization. I'm on the other side. So the answer to why I didn't, really go over there or anything is just because I was running around the stadium too, the red seat, the whole thing.
You were everywhere this weekend.
It was really cool. And I give a lot of credit to, it reminded me of the old days when I was first covering baseball and I was in these stadiums and doing all the cool stuff. Because now, Todd Walsh and I, we've been to these stadiums before, and you try to refresh it because our viewers, we're doing it for the viewers. So it's not about us. We'll go do it again. But for me, I had never worked at Fenway. I had been there as a fan. I had never worked a game at Fenway. So my director, Amanda Smarridge, she's from Boston. She directs, I don't know how many, but like a portion of our games, 20 games or so, 25 games. And she was there and kind of, so it was really a no-brainer. Like, let's just make this happen. Because she was like, let's do it on this camera. Let's figure out this camera.
Yeah.
And our producer, Dan Lonke, as well. So Dan and Amanda were very encouraging because sometimes I remember many years where I'd be like, I want to go do this. And everyone just kind of rolls their eye. Oh, we got to make the mic work. We got to get the camera what camera can we shoot you on? You never want to hear, I never want to hear no. And they were just like, they were coming forth with the ideas even before I could do them. So it was great. I was on top of the monster. I was inside the monster. I was out in the bullpen where the D-backs are like literally on the field right there and the fans are all around them. So it was cool.
What's it like in the monster? Would I fit in there at 6'8"? No way, right?
Yeah, you just have to crouch down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's pretty narrow though. Like you walk in and there's just all the stuff on the walls. It's all scribble, scrabble. Some of the names you can read, some you cannot. Sometimes there's a few people that took like white paint, which is a little aggressive. Like you're supposed to find your little spot and write your name, right? Like I don't know who decided they would just take a paintbrush and do white paint, but I couldn't even make out those names. But it is cool. It's all the history, all the names in there. I mean, I saw a few names that I recognized, but you could tell there's a lot of people and their friends and their families that have been in there.
Yeah, yeah. When you're gone for 10 days, you're gone 10 days, right?
I think it was actually 11 days because we left and we had an off day. We had another off day in the middle.
Yeah, when you're gone, I mean, when you're gone that long, do you come back on a day like today and be like, I got to talk to Brad. I don't even know what city I'm in. I'm going to dial 9 on my cell phone because it's just habit of dialing 9 for room service or whatever it is. Does it take you a little bit to get back?
Bad. I think because we got home at a decent time. Sometimes you get home, some of these trips, if you get home in the middle of the night, it's worse in the morning. So last night with the time change and a day game and everything worked out really well. I think, me as well as the players and coaches, hopefully they're having a good day off because you kind of you can get to bed at a decent time. You can come home. I've even done 1.5 loads of laundry.
Look at you. Wow. Early in the day.
Yeah.
Jody Jackson's Gems, brought to you by E.D. Marshall Jewelers. She is going to be with us every Monday, and then you'll see her on television as well.
By the way, we need to get in there and stop into E.D. Marshall. I need to check out a new round of gems to wear. So
Wow.
I'm excited for that.
I'll be right there with you. They have amazing watches and other things when I was in there.
They do. They have a lot of, it's not just the diamonds, it's the watches as well.
Yeah, no, they're nice people. The baseball team. Okay, you have to be surprised. Or, we're sitting there talking to each other, I think in May, and they're all beat up, they're all hurt. It's just the way Rodriguez isn't here, Merrill's not here, and on and on and on. Jody, it doesn't matter who gets hurt. They keep winning.
It is amazing. I was standing there last night and we're waiting for the bags, and I see Josh Bell, I see Luis Guillorme.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did we get here? But they've been amazing. They've been amazing pieces to this core group. This is really a core group that came back from last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that different. Eugenio Suarez is, let's face it right now, he is the biggest difference. He is the absolutely biggest difference for this team. And I am proud to say that I was not in the group of people that wanted him gone.
Not at all, not even for a moment. Like, man, is this guy going to figure it out? Because that was a pretty loud voice all around.
I know. I felt like, and I think sometimes people just look at me and say, oh, you're just towing some kind of company line, or you're just talking positive for no reason. No, it's just baseball. It's just the way that guys, and his track record had been that he doesn't heat up till July. Now is that an issue? Sure. You'd like to see it come sooner, but and then I give a lot of credit to Torey Lovella, who got him to do basically said, it's kind of like what I interpret it. This is not what anyone said, of course. Sounded like a kick in the pants a little bit to change the routine, do high intensity workouts, do high intensity pregame stuff that he wasn't really doing. And because he's been in the league a long time and he just needed a change. And so that's a big deal. Using this traject machine that the guys do to simulate pitchers. So But it's also Corbin Carroll, really. It's when you see
Yes.
him get on, he's starting every game by getting a hit. It feels like getting on base. It's not like he's going 3 for 4, 4 for 4, but it's 1 for 4 with a walk. It's all of these ways to contribute. So there's a lot of good right now with this team. Let me just throw some numbers at you because yesterday
Yeah, yeah.
they completed, because it was interesting when we got off the air, Bob Brenly, as we were rolling out and heading to my post game, I kind of could hear them. And it was hearkening back for Bob to 2002. And as you know, you were part of the World Series in 01, how good that team was. But then in 02, they actually were even better in some ways,
Yep.
and one of the stretches was 25-5. So we just talked about a couple of games that they went 20-5. Now they have gone 25-5, which matches 02, a year that I saw this note and I just wanted to share this, that it's the best 30 game span in franchise history. And they now are in it right now as well. And that team, of course, won 98 games, but was swept in St. Louis. Gonzo had the shoulder injury that year, which hurt them. But it's amazing to think about that, just how good what this stretch means right now.
Yeah.
They need just 10 wins in their last 32. This is going into yesterday to match last season's win total. So they should blow away 84. They're at 75 right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, I'm in the clubhouse the last few days and I'm thinking about how special this is to watch.
Well, I had my notes for you, and I actually do make a note or two, but is this a better team than last year's team? And the answer has to be yes.
Yeah.
And you think about it, Merrill is still coming back. It's not like he is in mid-season form, right? And Rodriguez is still just coming back. Your closer's trying to figure it out, but you've had a young closer that has established himself and has emerged. You added another lefty to the bullpen, which when Ohtani rolls into town this week, or if you're facing Bryce Harper again, like they're better there than they were a year. They're better equipped, I think, Jody, in the National League to get back to the World Series than they were a year ago.
Well, you're right. You hit on a couple of big points there. The good news is Merrill Kelly and Zach Allen are healthy right now. Mm-hmm. Now, they've had a rough season, both of them. It hasn't been the season they wanted. Zach to a lesser extent. Zach has been okay. Merrill just missed all that time. So now the question is, can they? But the good news is they can return to form here over the next, month and then heading into the postseason. Eduardo Rodriguez, the easy one is there's going to be no bullpen game this year in the World Series.
Yes.
And Mike Hazen felt terrible about that. He was so accountable for that. He felt like he failed the team not having a guy that could go out there in that fourth game of a playoff series. So that's been fixed. They now have too many starters, as we know, and Jordan Montgomery is in the bullpen, which is, I think, very tough for him mentally, very hard.
Gotta be.
I talked to him the other day, and it was kind of a hard conversation to have, really, because he's disappointed. He thought he kept thinking he was going to get back on some kind of roll, but it is the best thing for the team. You can see that. Everyone can see that. So Ryan Nelson, look at how much better Ryan Nelson is. Look at how much better Brandon Pfaadt is. Sure. Justin Martinez is a million times better than he was because he's just had experience now and he's refined his teeth. He knows so much more about how to get through an inning, no less than ninth inning, which he is doing right now. So Paul Sewald is, he's the one that has a little bit of he's had a stumble here, but the good news is now you've got more options.
But I think if Sewald and Montgomery, because we're sitting here with a week to go in August, or less than a week to go in August, if over the next 3 to 4 weeks, there's people who are like, yeah, I don't want to see them ever again. That's the absolute wrong approach on this. It's, look, if they figure something out, I'm sure Jordan Montgomery on a 1-year, $25 million incentive laden for X amount of starts, appearances, all that stuff is sitting there saying, I can't believe this has happened. Scott Boras did me bad. I saw that quote. But you know what? If he's able to figure it out in the next month, right now there's three left-handed relievers down there. I think Mantiply is working a ton. And so if you can find a way to get somebody back on track, as mentioned, when you have those lefties from the Dodgers and the Phillies, I just feel like if those two can come together in some way, shape, or form and give them something, the idea of them just being empty jerseys is wrong.
Oh no, yeah, and I mean for sure Seawald's not. Seawald's gonna, and then Montgomery, they'll figure something out there. I think it's just hard because he hasn't been a bullpen guy before. He's gonna have to figure out a routine. You're gonna have to figure out but he could help. He could be. I mean, what they were missing is kind of a long man. So you hope you don't need that long man because that means your starter's going short. What was huge for them, Brad, in Boston, it was each guy went 6 innings. Ryan Nelson went 6, Zach Gallen went 6, Merrill went 6. And that just helps everyone, right? That helps not overtax everybody. The offense scoring runs to put them in a little bit easier situation. But their schedule's very tough here. So this is going to be really interesting because it's Mets, it's Dodgers, it's then going on the road Giants and Astros, all formidable teams. So, and Dodgers is the one that you circled just because they're right there. They're lurking right there, 3 games behind the Dodgers. So, and then to think about fast forwarding, the last series is against the Padres. So right. It's going to be, this is what every fan wants though, right? Like, but you're right. It's all hands on deck. And I know fans get upset and they say, oh, we don't want to see someone. These guys, it's just like anybody on a job, right? We go into work. So-and-so's been having a rough go. Maybe they're making mistakes lately at work. It's like, you're all still there working this out together. You all still have to, you're all getting paid. You're all part of the team, right? Everybody can contribute. And that's just all that it is. And I love that about, I mean, it's not about at this point, and that's a no-brainer at this point in the season is, it doesn't matter how much each guy's getting paid, right? It's just about winning games. So make the right decisions for the team and go out there and if it means that, if it means Montgomery doesn't pitch very much, I guess so be it. But, there might be, and for him, every time he does, it is going to be a chance to prove that he's still valuable. I mean, Mike Hazen said the other day, this guy's going to have a long career still in front of him. He's still a good pitcher. He's having a bad season.
Yeah, no, and
actually that was my quote. I'm telling you, he's having a bad season. But Mike was putting in perspective that there's still a lot ahead for Jordan Montgomery.
Sure.
And, it's like he's having. My quote is he's having a bad year, and it's bad timing for him. But he does have, because the Diamondbacks really needed a pitcher this spring, he does have some financial security because of it.
Sure. No, but it's. And you and I could go on the Diamondbacks. I don't want to get over to the Cardinals in a second, but just, it's when Christian Walker comes back, what do you do with Josh Bell? Because he's been so good. When you have all the injured players, the 3 injured guys that come back behind home plate, your MVP, your all-stars, and yet every last move that they've made has worked. It's not like I'm sitting here saying, man, Hazen screwed up on that move. That was a terrible signing. That was this, that was that. I mean, there's a little bit of mad bum to Jordan Montgomery going on around town. There's a little bit of that, Jody, in all honesty. But
yeah, I get it. Heck, Eduardo Rodriguez is shedding that as well because he missed 4 months. So he missed 4 months. So you're like, what is going on with the lefties that get signed to the long year deals? Now, Jordan's isn't a multi-year. It's right. 2 years, basically 2, I guess, if you count that he's got the option. Yeah. But yeah, but you know what? You're right. Everything. And it's been fun watching Luis Guillorme. I mean, Ketel Marte, Luis Guillorme, right? One's an MVP candidate. One was on the street. But yet the guy has come in and made some tremendous defensive plays. And if Ketel's going to jump right back in and he's going to power this lineup because hitting's day to day. As much as it looks great right now, we all know we all know that's not how it normally goes with offense, right? So they're going to need Ketel Marte. They're going to need Christian Walker. But Guillorme, just being on the team, knowing you have that guy over there, I've just watching him play second base has been so much fun. And Josh Bell's been pretty good at first as well. But they have now more than they need, but it's security with injuries. What if somebody has a setback? You're not going to have a panic moment in September or October. So, yeah, it's It's really every move that Mike has made recently has been good. But it's like you take a lot of swings and sometimes you connect. And that's just it. I mean, Mike, that's any general manager, but if you're afraid to take the swings, that's where you're not going to be successful as a GM. I think he's willing to take the good and the bad, and when the good hits, it's very good. It's been a home run lately.
It's like being broadcasters.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to take the swing, forget it. We're not doing Jody Jackson's Gems if we don't swing big. Jody, brought to you by E.D. Marshall Jewelers, which is great because now we can swing over to the Cardinals. Preseason football, thank goodness, is behind us. It's in the rearview mirror. We have a couple weeks to sit and get ready for the start of the season. I like the direction the organization is heading. That's easy to say. I don't know if I like having 3 home games out of the first 4 in September. Kind of like to have it spread out. But the way the schedule is, opening up at Buffalo, then you have the Rams, Detroit, Washington, all at home. What do you make out of this first month as we come into the start of the Cardinals season?
Well, it's funny, going back to my plane ride 5 hours from Boston, I started to stream the game on my NFL Plus, and then I was watching it and thinking, why?
Right.
What I did gather, though, is that clearly the backups for the Cardinals have been getting beaten by the other team's backups, and that's a little bit of a concern. But I think I'm looking forward to, like everybody here in the Valley, seeing everyone together, because I think the strength of this team is clear. It's Kyler Murray, it's James Conner, it's Marvin Harrison Jr., along with Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, all the offensive weapons. But I think Trey McBride. Yeah, I mean, I'm leaving out even a couple guys because they have so many weapons. But I think the true key is going to be the offensive line. And if the offensive line can stay healthy, I think this team will be pretty good. I think it'll be better than expected, whatever people think it's going to be. If it's going to be, I mean, they're coming off a very feel-good year for having only 4 wins because of the way that the fight that they showed and some of the things that they did when Kyler came back. But I think it hinges on the line play on both sides. And then in the secondary, I thought, for example, Max Melton would really contend for a starting spot. I looked for him out. I was at the red and white scrimmage, red and white practice. Didn't see him out there. I know they downplayed the injury, but I don't know where he stands, that he's healthy, he's playing. But I thought Max Melton might be more of a factor. It's early. Maybe he still will be. But luckily, I think the moves that Monty Ossenfort made in the offseason to bring in some secondary help via free agency is going to really help them. But yeah, how Kyler and James Conner go in this season, I think is how the Cardinals are going to go. And the defense is really going to be a work in progress. What I saw from the preseason, like you said, is not a lot. They don't start anyone. No one gets time really.
Preseason.
But I think we've been pleased with, the one thing that is a concern is backup quarterback, because neither Clayton Tune or Desmond Ridder really seem to thrive in the offense. So we know they're not afraid to make a move, a la Josh Dobbs last year in the middle of, right before the season. So this little week, this little I don't know what you call it, the dead week or whatever, is going to be interesting to see if they go with Clayton Tune. Looked to me a little better than Desmond Ridder. And do they go with Clayton Tune as the backup, or I think they probably need to have a veteran guy there in case something happens to Kyler Murray.
Well, in the NFL, I know this to be true. Something will happen to Kyler Murray. Unfortunately, that position, if you don't have a stud behind him, you don't have somebody that you can rely upon, the veteran, the Colt McCoy that's got to come in, you're already behind the 8 ball if Kyler can't play. But you cannot have what happened last year, where Clayton Tune's put into play at Cleveland, I think it was, where it was just
it was brutal.
Hard. It was just brutal, and you can't do that. What I'm wondering is, when you look at Jonathan Gannon and you see the approach that he is going about, along with the general manager, Monty Ossenfort, the 1-2 tandem, Jody, how do you feel about the direction of the organization with those two? Or is it still, you know what, Brad, we're only coming into year number 2. Can't give you a solid assessment yet.
Well, I think the philosophy has been good. They're very adaptable. They're tough. It's a tough team. The type of beliefs that the two guys are spreading together among the guys that they've brought in guys that love football, guys that are completely dedicated to football. Those are really showing up. And I think it showed up last year. I mean, last year's draft class was very productive. I think we're interested in seeing, what is this year's class going to show beyond, I think everyone, it feels pretty good about Marvin Harrison Jr., but the later round picks, is it going to be a guy like Rabbit in the secondary? He's got a lot of speed. How will that show up? You've got now with Darius Robinson being injured, that was really tough to see. I don't know how long he's out. I know they haven't really said, but that guy was going to be electric. The practices that I saw. So, but you can't, that's one thing about JG is that there's never pity party. It's moving on. It's next man up. I mean, and that's most football coaches actually, but they're going to have to find that pass rush. They're going to find but I think together, what those two have shown a unified front with the coaches that have been brought in. I was very impressed with both coordinators last year, Nick Rallis and Drew Petzing, and I think that'll just get better. I mean, these guys were only doing this it's the first year together. And I think I loved for example, on offense, it already took a huge leap past what Cliff Kingsbury was doing when it comes to creativity, when it comes to the run game. I mean, there was so much that was there that could have been, it almost makes you a little bit angry because you think, what could they have been doing, if they had a little more of just a scheme that was, going to allow more deception, Kyler under center a little more, all the things that create, basics in an offense that create deception for the defense. And then, Rallis and I know as a defensive guy, too, and what they're putting together, I do believe in. I just want to see if this draft class can be as productive. And because I'm pretty sure that they'll take a step forward this year. I think everyone feels confident with Kyler out there with more weapons on offense. James Conner just continues to prove. Running backs usually they drop off. He's getting better, it looks like, with each year so far. And so I am excited to see it. I don't know how many wins it will equal, but I do think that it is a real functional group that they have put together under that leadership.
Fun stuff. Chopping it up every week. Jody Jackson's Gems, brought to you by E.D. Marshall Jewelers. Jody and I will get together every Monday and just bounce around. We're going to talk about mom with a quarterback in college some weeks. Some weeks it's a high school daughter. Some weeks it's just on the run. It's speaking engagements. It's whatever. And it's brought to you every week by E.D. Marshall Jewelers. Jody, good stuff. Thanks.
Great to be with you, Brad. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you next week.
And we're back with more after this timeout.